Senator Billig, thank you so much for joining us today and for joining Latinos in Spokane. My name is Jennifer Mesa, and I am one of the volunteers in Spokane. And today's with us is Tomás Chalot. He'll be doing our translating.
Hola, Senador Billings, gracias por estar acá con Latinos en Spokane. Bueno, yo soy Tomás, voy a estar interpretando el día de hoy con Jennifer Mesa, que es una de las voluntarias de Latinos in Spokane.
Great, nice to see you. Thank you for having me here.
Gracias por tenerme acá.
So we have some just questions about your campaign and of yourself. Can you tell us, our viewers, about yourself and your campaign?
Sure. I moved to Spokane 28 years ago to become the general manager of the Spokane Indians baseball team, and have run the Indians all of that time. I still work for the baseball team since we're a citizen legislature. I've been in. Do you want me? I'll pause.
Yeah, thank you. Sí, una de las, la primera pregunta fue, senador, ¿usted le puede decir a nuestros espectadores sobre usted y sobre su campaña? Y el senador comenzó contestando que lleva, how many years did you say again?
28 years.
That's what I thought. Lleva 28 años en esta área y trabajando con el equipo de béisbol de los Spokane Indians.
And I have 2 children. And have been in the legislature for 10 years and work very much on education, voting access, and equity issues.
Tengo 2 hijos, llevo en la legislatura, how many years in the legislature?
10. Yeah.
10 años en la legislatura, trabajando sobre todo con temas de educación, acceso al derecho de votar y cuestiones de equidad.
Gracias, Tomás. And what are some of your achievements as a Washington State Senator representing 3rd LD?
¿Y cuáles son algunos de sus... sorry about that.
Yeah, no.
¿Cuáles son algunos de sus logros representando el tercer distrito legislativo de Washington?
I think probably the area that I have done the most work in is education. Early childhood education, K-12 education, as well as access to higher education. I'm very proud of that because in our district, we have one of the highest poverty rates in the whole state. And I believe that education is the best way to break the cycle of poverty and to provide a more prosperous and equitable community.
La respuesta a la pregunta del senador es que está muy orgulloso de su trabajo que ha hecho en temas de educación, sobre todo en temas de educación infantil, y también educación secundaria y acceso a la educación superior, sobre todo porque esta zona de Washington tiene una de las tasas de pobreza más altas del estado. Y el senador cree que una de las formas de romper el ciclo de la pobreza es el acceso a la educación.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that. That is that's something that's a subject that's very important to us, and we've been trying to provide as much access and information to healthcare, but also education, and just different opportunities for scholarships and even getting back to supporting families on those technical aspects of how to apply to scholarships, how to apply to college, and and that's very important. And another question we have for you today is, why are you seeking re-election or to stay in office?
La otra pregunta que tenemos para usted hoy es, ¿por qué está buscando la reelección?
I believe I'm in the best possible position to continue to deliver results for our community because of my small business experience, my community experience, and my legislative experience. And my career, my first career is not being a politician. So I would like to do this as long as I can be effective in helping the people of Spokane. And I feel like I'm still in a position to be very effective in helping our community.
La respuesta del senador fue que él siente que está en la mejor posición para seguir representando a Spokane, sobre todo por su experiencia legislativa, también su experiencia en los negocios pequeños y su experiencia en la comunidad. Él siente que todavía puede ser muy efectivo en representar a la comunidad de Spokane.
Gracias, Tomás. I know that isn't easy, so.
Thank you for your patience. Yeah.
No, it's terrific. I like listening to it.
Other question we have is, do you have any affiliations with any local, national, or global Latino organizations? Can you share a little bit of work that you've, in which you've supported the Latino community?
Yes, definitely. So I've been able to work actively on a number of issues, particularly related to the Latino community, very much a lot related around higher education. We passed the Washington State DREAM Act. We were instrumental in expanding access to higher education through the Washington College Grant, which was general but helps particularly communities of color. And I also more recently was active with the governor's office as we were able to provide $40 million to the Immigrant Relief Fund to help not exclusively, but primarily Latino communities that were particularly hard hit by the pandemic and that did not have access to some of the federal funds. I could go on, but I'll stop. Those are just a few that came to mind. It's important to me to work with all communities and particularly the Latino community here in Spokane.
Thank you for sharing.
La pregunta fue acerca de su trabajo y en el pasado con la comunidad latina, ya sea a nivel local, estatal o nacional. Y el senador respondió que sí, ha trabajado en cuestiones que afectan a la comunidad latina, sobre todo en cuestiones que tienen que ver con la educación superior y el acceso a la educación superior. Por ejemplo, trabajó para pasar el DREAM Act del estado de Washington. También trabajó para conseguirles más fondos a los estudiantes inmigrantes y latinos y estudiantes de color en general a través del College Grant del estado de Washington. Y más recientemente ha trabajado con la oficina del gobernador para obtener fondos y pasar fondos de alivio, ¿no? Por la crisis del coronavirus de más de $40 millones, que eran para los inmigrantes, no solo latinos, pero para la comunidad inmigrante en general.
Can I add one more thing? Because I realized as you were saying them, they weren't as specific to Spokane. Can I give you a Spokane specific one?
Sure.
A couple of years ago was contacted that interpreters, to get certified to be an interpreter for the state, that you had, it was no longer offered in Spokane, and people had to drive hours to go from Spokane to get certified as interpreters. And I was able to work with community groups and work with the state to bring back the interpreter testing to Spokane.
Quería agregar una cosa más cuando estaba nombrando las cosas. Dijo que quería agregar una cuestión más en la que ha trabajado por la comunidad latina, sobre todo en la zona de Spokane, y eran en los servicios de interpretación. Antes uno tenía que manejar horas para poder examinarse, para ser intérprete, trabajó con grupos comunitarios en la zona y legisladores para traer de vuelta los centros de examinación para ser intérprete acá a la ciudad de Spokane.
Thank you for sharing that. And we've been working also with a lot of community members that have faced that hardship with, this is happening across the entire state and the entire country, where some immigrant families, because of their status or mixed status, aren't able to receive state funds, unemployment, or the stimulus funds. So it's really important to us to know that there are politicians that are working to bring more and support more of the Latino community and immigrant community in Washington State, especially Washington State, where immigrants provide so much work and provide so much to the local economies. So thank you for that. And on that topic around this pandemic and economic hardships, so we know that COVID-19 does not affect all races equally in Washington State. This pandemic has intensified and really just highlighted the disparities within historically marginalized and oppressed communities. And I was looking through some data this morning, and according to the Department of Health, their recent numbers, and I'm quoting from their site, case rates over the pandemic for Latinos, Native Hawaiians, and other Pacific Islanders, people are 9 times higher than those of white. And those are just immense disparities. And I wanted to ask, what do these statistics mean to you, and how do you plan on addressing these disparities?
Just one moment. Bueno, la pregunta es acerca de, estábamos hablando de los fondos de alivio para COVID, y la pregunta es acerca de las disparidades entre las distintas comunidades, ¿no? Por ejemplo, para latinos, hawaianos nativos y otras comunidades minoritarias, tienen un porcentaje de casos un 9% más alto que la comunidad blanca, por ejemplo. Y la pandemia se sigue intensificando, ¿no? Y la pregunta al senador es ¿qué significan este tipo de estadísticas y qué piensa hacer para resolver estos temas?
Well, I think, as you implied with your question, it's really important to recognize that the pandemic didn't create these gaps. These were gaps that we had before, and the pandemic has further exposed them and further exacerbated them. The fact is that our economy and society has haves and have-nots, and we need, to be successful as a community and a state, we need to have a system that works for everyone. And so we can do some specific things like the Immigrant Relief Fund that I was talking about. But one of the things in the Senate we're doing is to have an equity lens in everything that we do related to our recovery. And use this as an opportunity to not just build back exactly the way it was because we know there were flaws, but to try to build it better. And we don't have yet know all of the details of how it's going to get built back over the next couple of years. But we are going to be very intentional about making sure that nobody gets left behind, and that we particularly support the groups that we know had been marginalized through the pandemic and before the pandemic?
La respuesta del senador habla de, bueno, el senador dijo que estas disparidades que estamos viendo existían antes de la pandemia también, ¿no? Y necesitamos un sistema que funcione para todos. Él mencionó que la legislatura lo que tratan de hacer es mirar todo con un lente de equidad, sobre todo en cuanto a la recuperación de esta crisis de la pandemia. Lo que quiere decir es que reconocen que estas disparidades existían antes de la pandemia y a la hora de reconstruir, van a intentar reconstruir mejor y no como estaba antes. Es decir, no dejar que nadie se quede atrás y reconocer que las comunidades que antes ya eran marginalizadas se van a incluir, se van a incorporar a la comunidad, ¿no?
Great. Thank you so much, Tomas. And another question we have is that, you know, around the same topic of COVID-19, many families are facing economic challenges without work options or having difficulties returning to work because they don't have childcare access or they're leaving their kids home alone. What plans do you have to address these economic and social crises that many communities are facing across Washington states, particularly women that have to right now decide, do I go back to work or can I stay with my kids and can I afford to do all of this at the same time?
Can I translate that?
Yeah, of course.
Bueno, la pregunta es sobre el cuidado de los niños, sobre todo en estas épocas de pandemia, que afecta a muchas comunidades, ¿no? Porque muchas personas, sobre todo mujeres, se están viendo obligadas a decidir si se van a quedar en casa con sus niños para cuidarlos o si van a buscar otra forma para salir a trabajar, y eso crea más disparidades económicas y sociales. ¿Y qué planes tiene usted para resolver estas disparidades?
Well, to focus on one issue which you mentioned, which is childcare, that is an area of focus for me and throughout my legislative career. We all work on 10,000 different issues in a legislative session, but we only really know like 4 or 5 of them, like in depth. I mean, you can't be an expert in everything, but childcare and early learning is one of the areas that I've worked on particularly. And, similar to what we were saying earlier, we had a system that was struggling before the pandemic, and now there is even more stress for families and for childcare providers. So we have to make sure that we don't exacerbate the problem by cutting funding for childcare as we try to balance the budget, and that we in fact work to invest more. And there is federal CARES money that we've been working with the governor's office to distribute. There has been some that has gone to childcare providers, and there is going to be announced soon an additional significant amount of support for childcare. And then when we get into the legislative session, we'll need to look for the longer term solutions, because childcare and early learning not only are economic issues for parents going to work, but it is well proven that children that get high quality early learning make more later in life and are less likely to go to prison and are more likely to have successful health outcomes, and are more likely to earn more money, to be successful in every way. And so it's essential for today's workers, and it's essential for the next generation to be successful, to have robust investments in childcare and early learning. Sorry, that was a long answer to translate. I've been trying to be short.
No problem. I'll do my best. Bueno, habla otra vez de un sistema que ya antes de la pandemia estaba bastante estresado, y que ahora estamos experimentando más estrés, obviamente, en el sistema del cuidado de los niños, ¿no? En ese sector, digamos. Y dice que para no empeorar el problema a la hora de recuperarnos de esta crisis y tratar de recuperar un poco el presupuesto, ¿no?, para el Estado y esas cosas, que no empeorar recortando del presupuesto que justamente va dirigido al cuidado de los niños, a ese sector, ¿no? Dice que hay que invertir más y que, bueno, hablando también del alivio financiero que vino del gobierno, tanto estatal como federal, que había dinero que fue dirigido, digamos, a esos sectores del cuidado de los niños, pero se va a anunciar muy pronto, por ahí más alivio financiero en ese sentido también, porque dice que es esencial el cuidado de los niños, no solo del cuidado de los niños, pero también en la educación infantil temprana, dice que es muy importante y que aparte tiene muchos beneficios, ¿no? En cuanto a la salud, ¿no? En cuanto a la prosperidad en el futuro, evitar problemas de delincuencia en el futuro, ese tipo de beneficios además. Así que es esencial para esta generación de trabajadores, pero también para la generación de trabajadores que viene también. Thank you.
Excelente. Thank you.
I think I got all of it.
Yes, you did. Thank
Sounded
you.
good to me.
All right.
So we've been receiving some questions from the community. We shared that we would get an interview you today. And some of the questions that we received was, what are your views on providing services for immigrants, such as behavioral chemical dependency services?
I'll translate that really quick. También, esta es una pregunta de la comunidad que recibió Jennifer a través de las redes sociales, y es sobre qué piensa o opina el senador sobre servicios a inmigrantes, como por ejemplo servicios de tratamiento por dependencia de alguna sustancia o drogas, ¿no?
So I think we should provide care to everyone in our community. And one, because it's the right thing to do, and everybody deserves to have access to care, whether it's mental health or physical health care. So it's the right thing to do. It's also the smart thing to do from a financial standpoint, because somebody that doesn't receive care early in an illness is only going to progress worse and then be a greater financial cost later on. So it's better for the individual, and it's better for us as the community. And I sometimes think about, where people are on the political spectrum, and I can make the case from sort of a left standpoint or a right standpoint that taking care of everyone, regardless of immigration status, is the right thing to do.
Great, thank you. That question came in from Karina. I didn't mention that before.
Esa pregunta fue de Karina y la respuesta del senador es que él cree que nosotros deberíamos cuidar de todos los miembros de nuestra comunidad, ya sean inmigrantes o no, que no solo es, que también, además, deberíamos todos tener acceso a cuidado o salud, a servicios de salud, tanto física como mental, porque no solo es lo correcto hacer esto y proveerle esos servicios a todos los miembros de la comunidad, sino que es lo inteligente también, debido a que si una persona posterga, digamos, este tipo de tratamientos, puede llegar a costarle más a la comunidad en el futuro en un montón de otros sentidos, que no me acuerdo bien exactamente. I feel like I'm missing something there. I got it? Okay. Y bueno, lo último que dice que él entiende los distintos puntos de vista y puede hacer el argumento a favor desde el punto de vista de la derecha, tanto como de la izquierda, ¿no? Porque es importante cuidar a todos los miembros de nuestra comunidad. Eso. Thank you. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you, Tomas. That was excellent. And if our viewers would like to contact you, get involved with your campaign, or ask more questions, where can they reach out to you?
Sure. My email address is really easy. It is andy@andybillig.com. And you also can find me at my website at andybillig.com. And I work for you. I work for the citizens of Spokane, for our community. And I can only do a good job of representing you if I hear from you. And so I welcome and encourage feedback and comments and ideas.
Great. Thank you very much for your time.
La última pregunta fue acerca de cómo nos podemos comunicar con el senador si necesitamos comunicarnos con él. Y bueno, su correo electrónico es muy sencillo, es Andy con Y, @andybilling.com, es decir, su nombre y su apellido.com. Y también pueden ir a su sitio web que es andybilling.com.
Yes, and we'll be sharing that information through our social media web and our webpage. And also, we want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate your last response on how you stated that you work for the Spokane community and community members. That is one of our goals, is to provide more access to our politicians and our government offices, so we can connect community resources and just connect questions with answers, because we're all here and we all enjoy living in Spokane, and it'd be great to have more connections within our city. Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it, Senator Billig, and we look forward to learning more about your campaign in the future.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Bueno, lo último, rapidito, es le agradecemos por su tiempo al senador Billig. Es muy importante tener este tipo de conversaciones, ¿no? Para conectar las oficinas públicas y los representantes públicos y la comunidad y los recursos que hay para que haya justamente más equidad, ¿no? Y otra vez, gracias por su tiempo y eso. Gracias a ustedes por su paciencia. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll be in touch.
Okay.
Thank you, Tomas,
Thank you.
for all your work. We really appreciate your help.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Bueno, saludos a todos en Latinos en Spokane y sigan enviándonos sus preguntas y sugerencias. Le vamos a pasar la información de el senador Andy Billig y estamos en contacto. Buen día a todos. Chao.